Imagine losing everything, your husband, your home, your security, and being left with nothing but an uncertain future. Would you cling to faith or would you give up? This is the story of Ruth, a woman who faced unimaginable loss yet refused to let her circumstances define her. Instead of returning to her past, she stepped into the unknown, placing her trust in God. What she didn't know was that her obedience would lead to one of the greatest redemptions in history, one that would shape the future of Israel and even lead to the birth of Jesus Christ himself. How did a poor, foreign widow become part of God's divine plan? Welcome to Bible Breakdown, where we bring Bible to life through powerful cinematic storytelling. Stay with me as we unravel the incredible journey of Ruth, from loss to legacy. Birth and background. Ruth was born in Moab, a nation known for its hostility toward Israel, Deuteronomy 23:3. The Moabites worshipped false gods and were often seen as outsiders and enemies of God's chosen people. Yet despite her foreign origins, Ruth's story would take an unexpected turn. She married into an Israelite family that had moved to Moab due to a devastating famine in Bethlehem. Ruth 1:1-4. For a while, life seemed stable, but then tragedy struck. Her husband, brother-in-law, and father-in-law all died, leaving Ruth, her sister-in-law Orpah, and her mother-in-law Naomi alone and vulnerable. With no sons to provide for them and no future in Moab, Naomi decided to return to Bethlehem. She urged both Ruth and Orpah to stay behind and rebuild their lives in Moab. Orpah, though sad, chose to leave, but Ruth made a bold and life-altering decision, one that would change the course of history forever. Called to destiny, as Naomi pleaded with Ruth to stay in Moab, Ruth responded with one of the most powerful declarations of loyalty and faith in the Bible. Do not urge me to leave you or to turn back from following you. Where you go, I will go, and where you stay, I will stay. Your people will be my people, and your God my God. Ruth 1:16. At that moment, Ruth chose faith over fear. She abandoned her homeland, her culture, and her old way of life to follow Naomi and serve the God of Israel. What she didn't know was that this one act of faithfulness would lead her into divine favor and an eternal legacy, major challenges, and divine provision. When Ruth and Naomi arrived in Bethlehem, they had nothing. As widows, they were among the lowest in society, poor, vulnerable, and with no male relatives to protect them. Their only hope for survival was gleaning in the fields, picking up the leftover grain that harvesters dropped. Ruth 2:2. But here's where God's unseen hand began working in Ruth's favor. She happened to find herself working in the field of Boaz, a wealthy and respected landowner, who was also a close relative of Naomi's late husband. Boaz noticed Ruth's dedication and kindness toward Naomi. He ensured she was protected, provided for, and treated with favor. Ruth 2:8-9. Enemies and obstacles. Even though Boaz admired Ruth, there was a legal challenge. Another man was first in line to redeem Naomi's family inheritance, meaning he had the right to marry Ruth before Boaz could. Ruth 4:1-6. But God's plan cannot be stopped. The other man declined, allowing Boaz to step in as Ruth's kinsman-redeemer. Despite being a foreigner, Ruth overcame cultural barriers, societal rejection, and legal obstacles to step into the blessing God had prepared for her. Legacy and impact on biblical history. Ruth and Boaz married, and their union was blessed with a son named Obed, who became the grandfather of King David. Ruth 4:17. This means Ruth, a once poor Moabite widow, became part of the royal lineage that led to Jesus Christ. Matthew 1:5-16. Her story is a powerful testimony that God can use anyone, no matter their background, to fulfill his divine plan. Modern-day significance. Ruth's journey reminds us that God rewards faithfulness, even in loss. Staying faithful to God brings divine favor. Your past doesn't define your future. Ruth was an outsider, but God gave her a royal destiny. Loyalty and kindness opened doors. Ruth's commitment to Naomi led her to a life of blessings. So, what are you holding on to that God wants you to let go of? Just like Ruth stepped out in faith, you too can trust God to rewrite your story. Conclusion and call to action. Did Ruth's story inspire you? Comment God's redeeming grace if you believe in his power to transform lives. For more powerful Bible stories, subscribe.